Im heutigen Gold Invest Interview sprechen wir mit Jeremy Gray, zurzeit in Perth, von der australischen Orinoco Gold. Das Unternehmen könnte sich als eine der heißesten Turnaround-Stories des Jahres erweisen und hat seit Jahresbeginn schon eine schöne Performance gezeigt. Wir wollen von Jeremy heute hören, worum genau es bei Orinoco geht und wie es in Zukunft weitergehen soll. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you, Bjorn, and good evening from Perth, and good morning, Germany.
Thanks. So we will start talking about Orinoco in a second, but please give us a short snapshot of your background and experience first.
Oh, thanks, Bjorn. Yeah, I've been in the mining industry for 25 years, mainly in the finance, from Morgan Stanley and Credit Suisse and Standard Chartered in Asia. I spent a lot of time, very fond memories of working in Germany with the steel industry. Some of my dear friends like Dr. Fuhrmann from Salzgitter, one of the smartest guys I've ever met. But yeah, I spent a lot of time in the German steel industry in the 90s, which was exciting times. And I've been in sort of the mining, gold mining industry for 25 years.
Okay, so I assume you know what you're doing with Orinoco, and you're focusing on turning around the Cascavel mine in Brazil, if I sum up that correctly. Please tell us, what do you have there? What attracted you to this in the first place, to this asset?
Bjorn, I think this is one of the highest grading gold mines in the world. I've always believed that for 3 years before I joined the management 4 weeks ago. For some reason it's just never delivered, but it's an extremely high grade mine. It has incredible prospectivity. We have 50 other tenements around Cascavel that are completely different but also very exciting. And we have a very large supportive shareholder, AngloGold, who have been tremendous supporters for us over these last 9 months as well. So I'm blessed with a very, very exciting ore body, which is often half the challenge, I think, when you take over these roles as managing director.
Okay, so AngloGold, you said, is supporting you. They came in and bought part of the company. How many shares did they get?
They bought effectively 18% prior to the last issue that we have, and they were in discussions with an MOU that would give them exploration rights service over our 50 other tenements and be a great partner for us. So we're still in those discussions.
Okay, interesting. But as you mentioned, under the old management, things didn't go that well at Cascavel. As you said, it's a very high-grade mine, but you just didn't get the recovery you wanted. Can you tell us what the problem was?
Yeah, Bjorn, that's a great question, because every expert that's ever been to this mine for 3 years has always said, wow, that was a great trip. That's the richest gold mine I've ever visited. And we would go, well, that's fantastic. So why is it that we only get 2 to 3 grams through the mill? And they would always say, wow, that's something wrong with the mine. So there's some fantastic announcements we've put out these last 3 or 4 weeks, and more to come on that front. But everything we're discovering is that by tweaking the mill from basically grinding previously the rock down to sushi-sized rice, that didn't work. And we find when we introduce these very simple hammer mills, which are something that go back 100 years ago in the industry, and grind it down to talcum powder, we get exceptional recovery and exceptional grade. And the current grade is averaging 45 grams a ton. So versus the 2 to 3 that we're getting through the gravity mill.
That's certainly a big improvement. As you mentioned, the announcement you've been making, this has been testing with a smaller hammer mill on a pilot scale. Now I read you have a new mill on site that's way bigger. That's like 25 to 30 tons per hour instead of a couple of 100 kilograms. Give us a bit more information on the results you had with the testing and the pilot, and if those keep up, what do you expect from the bigger mill in the next couple of months?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we just took delivery of the bigger mill 3 days ago. It just got settled onto its cement foundations yesterday. We also bought a second mill that arrived last week, and it did its first processing yesterday. So, look, if I see no reason why the bigger mill won't deliver us the same sorts of returns in terms of recovery and grade as the pilot mill, which we did a 21-ton sample of individual 1-ton samples, where we received, on average, 45 grams a ton. Anything those 21 samples averaged between 30 and 149 grams, and the average was 45. We then did some assay panel samples that we announced earlier this week, 40 panel samples on one of our 4 different mining zones called Mestre, and they averaged 47. We have another 120 samples to come from those samples from all the different parts of the mine over the next 2 weeks. So we're hoping that the run-of-mine grade with dilution is an ounce a tonne, which is quite respectable. But we just have to wait and see. I just literally, every day is a day of discovery, and the team is doing an absolutely fantastic job on site. Yeah.
Very interesting. Certainly high grade. So you mentioned one zone you're getting the feed for the mill, or the mills for. What are the other sources of material on the Cascavel mine, and are you planning on opening up further zones for production?
Bjorn, it's a great question. We've got actually 4 working stopes. Well, we've got Mestre, Cascavel, the northern zone, which we thought was low grade. That's turning out to be very good grade. We just dewatered the Kuka zone. The team were down there yesterday. We will announce results from Kuka in the next 15 days. No reason to suggest that it won't be as good as the other 3. So we'll have 4 working faces or different zones that we're accessing from. And the million-dollar question is what happened to all the gold that wasn't produced and delivered last year, because we were getting 2 to 3 grams from the gravity mill. So we're beginning a testing process on the tailings, where our second hammer mill, which is now commissioned yesterday, will begin to process those tailings tomorrow, actually. And we announced that we will report those to the market over the next week or 2. So the prospect is, this was a mine that should have probably delivered 20,000 ounces last year that produced 663 ounces. So we're just not sure where those other ounces went to.
Okay, so actually you have, with the tailings, you have 5 zones of production, but are you going to do some more exploration drilling on the property?
Yes, absolutely, because we obviously drill for structure, we drill for mine plan, and also we have 50 other tenements for targets outside of that, which AngloGold is very keen to get involved with on the drilling side. Just literally 7 kilometres down the road is Antenna, which is 5 open pits that Troy Resources used to mine. We think there's substantial gold there. Further south is the very famous Sertão mine that was part of our tenement package. That Sertão did an open pit at 30 grams open pit. They left about 12 years ago. Western Mining was there before us and before Sertão. So there's a tremendous amount of geological data that we're available to us. We have a team of 17 in the geology team, led by Marcelo de Carvalho. And it's highly prospective. Just to give you one example of the prospectivity of Cascavel, which is our current mine, in between Kuka and Mestre, we drilled 17 meters at 1,300 grams silver.
Oh, nice.
And we've never really followed it up.
Okay,
now,
so
usually anyone...
potential.
Incredible potential. We reported a result, and we put a note out 2 weeks ago saying that as you go further south, we believe, from that intersection, the intersections in theory should thicken. So we could potentially be sitting on a substantial silver deposit, which we haven't even had time to look at. And yeah.
Okay. Now, these are plans, and all this will cost money. And there's always a concern with the junior resource companies. Will you be needing additional cash over the near term?
Well, you know, it really is. It's interesting to ask that, because we raised a little bit of money when I took over in just a couple of days before Christmas. That came with an option, and that option money is coming in quite thick and fast. I'm hoping to end this month with $4 million in the bank. Production starts next week. Could anywhere between 1,000 and upwards of ounces per month. Really, we just start with a low number to begin with. My cash cost should be somewhere between 500 and 600 Australian dollars an ounce, which in euros is, I guess, is 350 to 400 or 50 or something per ounce. And I'm hoping that we can generate a substantial cash balance. But there's always opportunities to expand the mine. There's also drilling that we'd like to do. And there's a lot of potential growth there, which all takes capital as well. So we feel that we're at a very important point in the cycle. The cycle has been through a vicious, and I don't need to tell you this, a vicious 6-year bear market. I feel it's turning. I feel there's a lot of opportunities out there, and we're excited to grow the group. You know, we were facing incredibly tough times 4 or 5 weeks ago. We've come back from, you know, literally from the edge, and we're having a phenomenal couple of weeks so far, and we just want to keep that going and keep the momentum there. The management team led by Richard Crew on site is unbelievable. I rang Christmas Day, I rang Richard, and I said, Richard, where are you? He said, I'm at the mine. I said, what the hell are you doing at the mine? So he's the guy I want to have operating that mine. He's there 7 days a week, 18 hours a day, and he's brought a whole new thinking into the way we mine Cascavel, which is fantastic.
Okay, so I can assume you think now is still a good time for German or other investors to get engaged with Orinoco, even though you've had a couple of good weeks already.
Look, the potential's there. It's we're not by any means, you know, not completely out of the woods, but we are having phenomenal grade. And this going back to a 100-year-old mining technique has saved this company. And I don't think there's a single operator in Canada or Australia who's ever operated a hammer mill or operated in those countries in the last 30 years. That technology has just revived Orinoco and taken it to the next level. And we can buy these mills for 20 to 25,000 euros, and my payback on them at the grades that we're processing is 1 to 2 days. Okay. So it's a completely different dynamic than, and I come from the industry where it's all about big capex, it's all about raising lots of money, it's all about consultants, and every single consultant that went down the site last year, no one said the problem was with the mill. And they all said we needed to spend 30 million, 50 million, 100 million on the mine. Maybe one day we will, but the problem was the mill. And that's why going back to basics is what our new motto is, and paying everyone with performance shares, cutting back salaries dramatically, cutting costs by 30 to 40% has really transformed the group.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for taking the time, and we'll be certain to watch what's going to happen next.
Thank you, Bjorn. Thank you so much to Gold Invest for your support, and look forward to speaking and seeing you in Germany next month.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.